Hollis, you want to do the social media blast? We're all good here.
Yeah. There's
All
no corner,
right.
no corner of the internet that won't know. Wait, where the hell?
It should be in the Facebook.
Sweet.
I don't know why I typed that in when I could have just said it out loud with my voice. I guess it's used to my mic not working.
Yeah, you're gonna have to watch your keys. We pick all
Yeah.
that up. Guys,
Okay.
welcome to Bad Publicity. The NAPD Most Wanted list dropped, and I don't know. Some people are saying FFG broke the internet. You know, might be true, might not be true, but they did cause the chat rooms to blow up crazy. Guys, Bad Publicity, we've got some new faces sitting here. So I'm going to take some time to do a little bit of housekeeping. You guys remember Miles from the Power Rankings, and we have Mr. Alex sitting over here to, I don't know if that's my internet screen left or if that's my internet screen right. But he's in the chat window right here next to me.
Really glad to be here. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited to, and what an episode to be on as well. Thank God there's so much to say, so I'll hopefully be able to make myself useful.
No doubt. Guys, before we really get into something, we want to make a quick announcement. Bad Publicity has been going we'll be going strong for almost 3 years. And we are officially trying to, jump on the Patreon bandwagon here. So, if you'd like to kick in some funding, if you like what we do and just want to support us, help us get some better gear, help us keep the audio sites hosted. It does cost us money to rip this and host it on the SoundCloud and put it out. So if you have some extra cash in your pocket or some change, you can see the link is sitting up there. Follow along and donate to the cause. We really wanted to launch this at a better time, but it seems that everyone and his mother is launching a fan funding Patreon right now, so we better get in before you guys decide which one to really share over your tunes to. Guys, so what is going on here?
It's amazing is what I think it is. I think it's I'm super excited because this is like I think the largest individual like game change, right? Like I don't think there's been anything as large that's happened to the game in the past 3 years or 3 or 4 years.
For real. Yeah, definitely. I think the Valley being released and Clock becoming legal was probably the biggest thing before this, but I think this eclipses it pretty safely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What a time to drop it as well. All the Netrunner players at New Year parties suddenly on their phones. Through decks and
I had to wake up. January 1st. Happy New Year, boys.
I was at work, so I had to hide. And
This is what it's going to be in 6 months. Where were you when the most wanted list drops?
Yeah. I was at it was so obviously we're basically a day behind you guys, and I was eating with people from work at a restaurant, and the food had just been sitting in front of me, and then everyone in my local league posted the same link on our Facebook page, and then I was like, is this real? And they were like, yes. And I was like, no, I don't think you understand. Is this really real? And they were like, no, it's really real. This is really happening. And we just got the information. And I remember not eating. I was like, guys, I know that this egg roll will be delicious, but I need to read what cards have changed. Like it was such a good moment.
Some guy told me I can't play prepaid voice pad anymore. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, it's a serious shakeup. We're gonna have to do something, and it's good because I love prepaid CAD. I think it's the best. Just jumping straight in. I think it's the most fun you can have playing Netrunner. I love it, but
me too.
we've got to figure something out now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that list was pretty much locked in.
Before we get to the list, I want to throw something to Hollis here right quick because he was raging. We bunked together at Worlds, and a big change that you've been asking for a long time is wireless net pavilion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's going unnoticed, because nobody's reading the FAQ since they've probably just checked out the most wanted list. But Wireless Net Pavilion's unique now.
Right.
I don't think anyone's sad to see that happen.
I mean, like, it's one of those scenarios where it's like, I mean, FFG and in general, you know, players. I don't usually think players, and FFG especially, are just idiots. Like, it's usually not a matter of like, this deck is really strong. Looks like it's entirely by accident. Like, I mean, in general, you're gonna have, you know, great cards that are printed, and then the community, FFG, will realize that, hey, this is a power card, and this was printed for that purpose. So, you know, this is what makes a deck work. And Wireless Net Pavilion, we've all heard it. You know, we all heard at Worlds where it was mentioned that this card in playtesting was originally unique, and through some event, whether it was intentional or not, the card was not unique. And of course, that let, you know, a DLR deck that was already good. I mean, in general, DLR decks had always been strong for a little while, then people tech against it, and then it went away. It let a DLR deck just go completely off the rails now, right?
They're always like pretty good, like pretty, you know, not amazing, but pretty good. Yeah,
right.
You're right.
Right.
But do you think it was strange how that got through testing?
I'm not sure. I think it's a scenario where it's like, I don't know what transpired. I think probably it was a matter of, and I imagine they have to make this decision for a lot of cards. It was probably a matter of like, this card is marginally useful if we don't make it stronger, right? Like, this card might not ever see play if it's not stronger. And so but if we give it that bump, if it's not unique, is it too strong? And it may have just been a scenario where they're you know, all of their testing and the information they had didn't really show that it was an OP card. And so they said, all right, well, it doesn't feel overpowered, so, I mean, I guess it's fine if it's not unique. That could be one way that happened.
I think I can see why it wasn't unique, because it's kind of weird. It makes it a little bit weird that it is, because it combos with itself. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you've got three of them, they're protecting each other, and there's kind of a deck there, and that kind of thing's fine in card games until that deck turns out to maybe be too good. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And it seems, it definitely, I don't think it seems a bit more almost accidental than like an intentional, like overpowered sort of card. Because the thing is that, like, there's the most massive tag punishment card that we have is like Scourge. Like, it's rare that anybody, like, you know, even before Wildest Net Pavilion, nobody was really doing Freelancer, nobody was doing Bad Times, nobody is, you know, I mean, Cycle wasn't even really being played either at that moment in the meta. So it's like, well, so the only thing tags are actually doing in the game right now are simply just allowing people to Scourge. And one of the most popular deck archetypes at the time, of course, you know, is like the convenience shop decks, where they can do fast advance, they can do Scourge. So, I guess, you know, looking at it was like, all right, well, whatever. I mean, they're going to take a million tags, but no one's really punishing tags in any other way. Nobody's going to do a cycle bill. And so now, I mean, preventing any resource from getting trashed ever is just so massive. So massive.
And I've seen some speculation that with the most wanted list and the changing of the meta, we might see a bit more taggy stuff come into decks. I think we might see more MBN decks playing it, not only as a way to win, but just because tagging's pretty good anyway. I know some players have been testing with the Fast Advance build that just has Data Raven and QPM in it, so that might hit that deck too. But I think the Wireless Net Pavilion thing would be, I'd be a lot not angry. I'd be a lot less on board if it wasn't a brand new card. But it's not like it's a card we've been playing with for 2 years, so it should be pretty easy to adjust.
Yeah, it was really nice to see how quickly they jumped on a solution here, because once you had that lockdown, if there was, you know, 2 of these on the board with the Fall Guys, it was just insanely good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my friends, a local friend that plays with me named Corey, he made the point, because he loved playing DLR Val. I say loved because he probably isn't going to play it anymore. He loved playing DLR Val, and his opinion was like, you know, the deck is sort of difficult to pilot. But he said, you know, even if he feels like it's difficult to pilot, it comes down to, when you get to that level, though, it's very difficult to lose also.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much like, yeah, it's a difficult deck to pilot, but that's only going to be the saving grace for not playing it for so long. People are going to figure it out. They're going to get used to it. And at that point, it's like, well, what do you do? I mean, it's really difficult to beat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and in some sense, it kind of feels like the butcher shop of runners or whatever, where the less experienced players who want to have a good time and come to tournaments don't really know how to beat it, and there's a feel bad for them. And you do have to think about that kind of thing when it comes to the power level of cards, I guess.
And we got Travis up early, jumped in the chat, and he says maybe they thought the flip side of sync was the counter and all-seeing eye.
Well, it actually does do really well.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not enough, obviously.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So that was a good fix. Then Net Pavilion. Now let's talk about the list. General thoughts.
I think before getting into the nitty-gritty of the list itself and how it affects the game, I want to say that I think it's good that FFG did this and have shown they're prepared to do this, because I think you need to show that you're prepared to issue bans or try and restrict the card pool in some way, because otherwise you limit yourself in terms of design space. If every card that you print is there to stay as it is forever, the designers end up getting super careful and conservative and they stop printing powerful cards. So to the designers, this says you can print crazy stuff, and if it's too good, then maybe we'll do something about it, which is better than the alternative.
A little bit of risk taking,
Yeah,
right?
we get options as well. Like we've had, Hollis was talking earlier about Eli and everything gets compared to Eli. We've had the Desperado problem with criminal consoles for literally the entire game.
Yeah.
So when you have some of these options opening up, it just gives us more room to work with. With NBN as well, like if you look at the fast advanced decks, you can kind of deal with it, but it's good that not all fast advanced decks are going to have the same 20, 30 cards exactly the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's good for the game overall.
It definitely feels like. Oh, please go ahead.
I was just gonna say I don't think there's anybody on this panel, like spoiler alert, that is going to be talking against the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm sad about losing prepaid Cape, but I'm not going to get.
Everyone
Everyone
here still has their collection, right? Nobody sold it. As of
No.
yesterday.
I actually burnt some of it.
I have a few
I don't think
reservations.
it's always going to anyway.
I'm very exposed to people who dislike the list. Some of my playtesting buddies are quite vehemently against it, so I've been exposed to the negative opinions, so I'll play that role if someone needs me to, I guess. I was really, really excited when I first saw it, and now I have a few more reservations. Like, I think some people were angry and then kind of accepted it, and I've kind of been a bit less happy the more I've thought about it, but I'm still on board. I still think it's good for the game.
Yeah. I think most of my gripes have to do with more or less very specific IDs that before were already sort of not playable, and I think they became even less playable. A key one that is affected overall by this list would be like someone like Kit, where it seems like, all right, well, Kit was already, it already had 10 influence, and there were certain cards that were kind of needed because you couldn't really flex things in with 10 influence. So now when you take cards like Clone Chip and Lady, and you say, well, those are tax, it's like, all right, well, now Kit is like starting at like 8 or 6 influence. So I don't even know how I play with this ID at all. I mean, in general, it may just be that the ID itself could have, wasn't made, I guess, powerful as it should have been. Like maybe it should have had, 12 influence or whatever the case was. But Kit definitely, if Kit wasn't playable before, it most definitely doesn't seem that playable now. Because it can't even flex in regular shaper tools. But still, I think that for the most part, I think that this is a casualty that they have thought about also. I think they've also looked at this because, like, clearly the changes in HB lists hurt Stronger Together, right? Like, Stronger Together, which, wasn't even being played, but Stronger Together can't even use Eli, like, correctly anymore. And it definitely can't use Architect. So that ID also is just universally weaker. There's nothing really you can do about it. It just is weaker now. But given those IDs aren't played that often,
I think the tier 2 shapers are the ones that unfairly lost out from this more than anything. Tier 2 shapers in basically everyone that isn't Kate is in a really bad place right now. People are testing Professor. I spent like a couple of hours playing Professor yesterday because he might be the second best shaper now.
Yeah.
Before we get into it, the last one that I want to say in general is that when these winter kits come out, when these promo cards at nationals and worlds get released, they say, I was talking with someone at Worlds, and they say you got to really look at the cards that they print for the selection of these cards. So now with this list, does it make more sense that Corroder is now a special card? Are we going to see Corroder more now that Lady's gone? Is Ice Wall going to make that comeback as that splashable barrier instead of Eli? Those are the last two ones from the game kit, right? So
yeah, that is true. Corroder definitely got a hell of a lot better. I'm not so sure about Ice Wall, but we'll see.
all right, let's do a dip in here. We're going to start with the runner cards. So first up is Lady.
It's garbage. 2 out of 10.
I mean, it is like a ridiculous card, though. Anyway, right?
Yeah, it's kind of absurd.
Yeah, I mean, with scavenging and shit in faction, it was already pretty goddamn amazing. And I mean, I think it's just there's 2 in every single Shaper deck. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they also pointed out somewhere that it might be in the list justifying the most wanted, the article justifying the most wanted list, or I don't know, maybe it's somewhere else. But I think somewhere it was mentioned that, like, A, it's the best, it's easily the best thing at what it does in the faction, and B, it's a barrier breaker in a faction that's not necessarily supposed to be all about the barrier breakers. So it's a bit odd that they had the best fracture in the game. So it makes some sense to me. I still think it's a bit odd. Generally, the breakers and the ice are the things that I'm the least, like, the biggest critic of going on this list. I think breakers and ice are. I think good breakers and ice are not likely to hurt the game, but I don't know.
Yeah, I really didn't have an issue with Lady. My only concern was, like you said, Alex, it really wasn't supposed to be Shaper's forte to break barriers, and you gave him the best barrier breaker in the game. I think as good players and as competitive players, a lot of us have learned to tax out Lady credits. Because of, like, use of certain ices and things like that. But I mean, I wouldn't have been hurt if Lady was left off the list, but I'm not hurt seeing her on.
Yeah, that's fair.
Dan, if you recall, in like I think it was Dan's post interview for Worlds or last year. Wow, it's so weird saying last year so soon. The point he made was, like, because of Lady, his deck ran Eli, no other barriers. And even with that, he would res the Eli, and then after Lady hit the table, he never played another Eli. It was like, all right, so barriers are dead. He's like, I can't even play them because this card breaks it so efficiently. I'm spending money so they pay almost nothing.
Yeah.
So,
I was going to say that. I don't tend to tax Lady. I just don't ever res another barrier again if I play a Lady.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's a
paper.
yeah, and that's a weird space to be in where, like, as Corp, you have these tools and it's like, well, like Wallace Static, Bastion, Himitsu Bako, like, these are all ice. I just can't use them because it doesn't help. It just does not help to use this ice because they break it so efficiently. At least with Corroder being the most being the primary breaker people would use, it's a matter of, well, it has a low strength and it's a 1-for-1 to up and to break, so it's always spending credits every single time. There's no free mechanic, built in. So
yeah, in terms of Lady, I think it's also worth pointing out that one of the things that's important to note when talking about this list is who certain cards taking this hit helps, as well as just who it hurts. And Wayland is pretty clearly the worst faction in the game, and they're supposed to be all about barriers, so this does give Wayland a little boost too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Unless people go back to that Morningstar love.
People always talk about the Morningstar love. No one plays the Morningstar love. There's a big difference.
Do you guys have anything else to throw in about Lady?
Nah,
it's very pretty, isn't it? It's very pretty.
And it's a shame that it's kind of an interesting card too. It's not just that it's very efficient at breaking ice. It's got this limited use and stuff. So it was kind of a cool design, and it's a pity that turned out to be too good.
So what about adding at the end of these? We instead of doing it at the end, let's do for each card. Is this card still going to see play? Is it worth the extra hit in faction and out of faction?
Yeah, it's still insane. You can play 2 of these instead of 1 Corroder. I'd still play the shit out of that.
Yeah.
Plus, it's in faction with the it's in the same faction with Scavenge. So I think what happens is if people really care about the influence, they'll be like, well, how about 1 Lady and 2 Scavenge now, and I'll SMC it and just restart it every single time.
Yeah. It's worth taking a hit to the rest of your deck to still play Lady, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. All right.
This card is the one that I think hurts the most. The clone
That's
ship
sad.
is just I feel right now currently to Shaper, this is what their thing was, the recursion. And
Yeah.
and losing clone ship really kills a lot of the deck archetypes and abilities that people gravitated towards Shaper for.
But not in Shaper, though. Really,
Yeah.
it stops every Anarch deck taking 3 clone chips and parasite bombing everything into the dirt.
Yeah, that's why this card. If
Yeah.
this list exists, clone chip has to be on it, just because it's so offensive out of Anarch.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's more it. I mean, like, obviously it's great in Shaper for any number of reasons, but I think it's more to hurt Anarch than anything, especially with Parasite being on the list too.
Oh, 100% I agree. It was here for out of faction use more than it was in faction, but I just can't believe the hit that in faction is going to take now to use clone ship.
Yeah.
There's something so sick
Yeah,
about
it's.
because
I mean, the first Shaper deck I built out of this had 3 clone chip and 2 lady, and it's been pretty fine
too.
so far, honestly.
Yeah. You keep playing them because they're still so good.
They're still good cards, yeah. But anyway, yeah, clone chip. So what else do we think? Do we think it was too powerful to begin with, or is it too oppressive, or what do you reckon?
was clone chip. I'm so dumb. Was clone chip creation control?
Yeah.
Okay, so so I think at the time the issue was, there's a lack of recursion, right? Because at the time we only had like Deja Vu. I don't think we had very many things that pulled cards out of the discard pile and like put it back into play. But I think what clone chip did is like it's such a low cost, right? It costs one credit. You install this and at instant speed. That's the thing. I think it's the instant speed. Because SMC does instant speed, but it taxes you, 2 MU. So there's a way you have to play with SMC, and then on top of that, it costs 2 extra credits to put that breaker into play.
Yeah.
Whereas this sort of like allows the card, like goodness gracious, the program, you can just pitch it. You can go nuts and just go, I just overdraw always, just keep overdrawing.
Yeah.
And then now I don't even need to install programs. I just need to install clone chip, throw the programs away, and I actually saved clicks by simply just overdrawing and installing, just clone chip.
Yeah.
I don't know if you save clicks because technically you have to install it, but it's still a matter of you run at instant speed. There's no danger.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's way better to do it that way.
Yeah, and I think the speed bump is going to come out of faction because now Anarch will just rely on Deja Vu, which just means they can't do it on the fly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Parasite's bad is you can't really play 3 Parasite, 3 clone chip anymore.
Yeah, which is probably the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Because I reckon like every Anarch deck before, right, you put in 3 Parasite, 3 clone chip as like your first 6 cards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge for noise. And now he probably can't go all in. And again, in terms of splash damage, this means we have to look at cool stuff like Next Ice and Quandary and like that kind of high cost, low strength ice with a good effect. Like you might be able to play your Surugis again and that kind of things, and which is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
I guess we should talk about that.
This really hurts Max too, doesn't it? Like real.
Yeah, I feel like that's a shame. I don't think like the tier 2 shape as Max didn't really need the hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it will be interesting to see some of that, especially because Faust is conspicuously absent from the list.
Yeah.
We might, as you said, see a bit more of that multi-subroutine, lower strength break ice happening in the game.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Do you guys think this kind of burns the little resurgence that Geist was seeing?
Yeah, I don't know.
Geist and Exile.
Poor Geist.
It really.
Oh, he's got new cool stuff coming up though. He got cool stuff in Mumbat.
Yeah, it's true. He's got that flying car and stuff.
I don't think
guaranteed.
So I don't think clone ship is going away, but it'll be interesting to see how much people want that ability now.
And it's important. I think it's also important to state with the bulk of the cards in this list, I think most of them aren't leaving. Like I don't think as an NBN player, I don't think I'll ever say, well, I don't want to put my foot in my mouth, but it's unlikely that I would ever really say, I'm not going to run Astro ever again, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like certain cards are just so powerful. I will find the necessary influence to use these cards.
Yeah,
So
If you want to, you can.
right.
I think there's one, maybe two cards on this list that are really going to drop out of the meta. One in particular, which we'll get to in a minute. But for the most part, you're going to keep playing these cards. It's obviously too much of a logistical issue, but if this was Hearthstone or something, and you could literally say change what the card said, I would have been happier if they just made clone chip like 4 or 5 influence to Annex and left it as it was for Shapers. But that's just kind of a logistical nightmare.
No, 100% agree
Oh
there.
man, that'd be an interesting concept for future design space. Anyway,
Yeah.
moving on.
But
Yeah.
actually, Alex, do you think that that's what it needed to be? Do you think it needed to be an official, like it was that powerful to go 5 influence on this, or would 4
Yeah,
have been okay?
well, probably, yeah. And it's weird. Well, the interesting thing about clone chip is it looks super innocuous. I think everyone knew it was good, but I don't think anyone looked at this and was like, this is crazy. But yeah, I think it might have been better at 4 influence or maybe even more because, I mean, all the things Shaper does with it are pretty fair for the most part. Like, people talk about Shaper bullshit, but getting back an SMC and getting a break is fine. It's getting back a Parasite or getting back a Lamprey to continue the lock that was really upsetting people.
Yeah.
Because Annex and Faction have got all these disposable programs that are super good and then run out of use, so when you give them away to bring them back, it's just crazy.
Yep.
And this is very fair in Criminal, too. Criminal kind of sometimes needs this as insurance, so it's super sad that Criminal just got even less safe than it was before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Power Shutdown wrecks you even more than it... Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, this is really doing a hit in faction more.
Yeah, I wish they'd just taken it away from red decks. And
But you know what? That's an interesting little side tangent because I think that's why, there was a lot of people that said account siphon should have been here. But I think account siphon is pretty balanced for what it is.
Yeah,
if you want to use it
absolutely.
outside, you really have to take a hit running 4 influence there.
Right.
The thing about accounts is so 2012. Isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And we have so many, like at this stage of the game, there's so many hard counters to account siphon, right? Like Crisium Grid, you can have Caprice, and then isn't there like a sealed vault? If it really is like the worst problem you've ever encountered, you can literally like put that card out, and it becomes a nope card. That's pretty much what it is. Account siphon, okay, break, get in. Sorry, not today. I'm moving my credits over here. You want to come over
man,
here?
Fair cards, you can just wear Sans and stuff.
Bullshit.
Wait. What'd you say, Alex?
Sorry, shall I? Okay, I'll go. You can beat it without 8 cards. You can just rest Sand, City Grids and
That's
stuff. You can
exactly
play
what I said.
Okay,
Oh.
sorry.
Nice.
It's getting hype. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, that's the other thing. You can straight just res cards that are installed, and it completely negates it. I think that the biggest issue with the count siphon is that I'm gonna overstep my normal like nice guy conversation. If you're watching this episode and you still don't know how to play against the count siphon, please message one of us and at least let's open a dialogue because in 2016 now, there is no reason why some part of your deck should not be in some way resistant to being permanently siphoned. The exception was before specific siphon spam decks where, they were like, Faust, and I'm in no matter what, you have no defense. Okay, sure, that does suck, but there are other things that you can do. So there should be something. You should have something.
Get your shit together.
Yeah, I mean, there should be something. Like, at this day and age, if someone is like really, really upset about account siphon spam, my actual question to you is, it's probably not a matter of your opponent. It is probably now a matter of your deck building choices and the way you're playing the game. So
You made that choice.
yeah, like, and don't be upset about that. Like, don't take that information and say, oh goodness, like, how dare you say that? Like, I'm playing the game incorrectly. That's not what I'm saying. There is just what do you do versus Architect? Do you just let every Architect fire because you don't want to go get a Sentry Breaker? That's not gonna happen. You go find a Sentry Breaker. You do what you have to do because that's how you're gonna have to play in this game. Architect is a card, and Siphon's no different. If you know Siphon's in the game, you pick the cards necessary to take care of it. Or you play around it and deal with it. That's it. That's all you can do. That's it.
Real talk.
Yeah.
And Siphon also proves how much it changes the card with putting extra influence on it. If Siphon, can you imagine what the game would be like if Siphon was 2 influence or something?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Like,
like
and that's what Clone Chip is. Clone Chip is 2 influence. So if
Yeah.
it had just been more, then we wouldn't be having this conversation.
yep. Man, it came full circle. Alex got me, guys. He got me good.
That was an
Guys,
amazing.
up next was one that everyone said was low influence ever since it came out, is Desperado.
Desperado's not influence; it's low cost, right? Should cost like 4 or 5 to install. Anyway, yeah, this is a weird one, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it is.
I don't know about this, honestly.
It came at the worst possible time when the faction was already struggling. You just took away their best card. Well, not took it away. You'll still play it, but
But influence sucks in criminal anyway, so this just makes life way more difficult.
yeah.
And like you said, clone chip being potentially less around, we may see more program trashing with the your baddie and whatnot. So yeah, I don't know about this at all.
I mean, I think part of the rationale behind it was that no one's really ever looked at any other criminal console twice, apart from in specific builds. But I don't know if that's really a justification when Desperado was one of the only cards holding them together.
Yeah.
Yep. Only reason that I believe that this is on the list is for the design space of the console choices.
Also, if Anik wasn't playing Desperado, it might be a bit different. But there are a lot of Anik Desperado decks now.
Oh yeah, you did the Grim Feast one. Hey,
I wrote like 2,000 words about Grim Feast, and now now it's basically unplayable. But maybe that's probably fair. Valencia Desperado was pretty offensive.
I loved that deck. That was the first thing I built when I got Ordering Chaos. That was a good time.
That was a fun. That was a fun deck.
I really liked it. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I think Desperado. I mean, Desperado took the hit just because. Well, sorry. Let me start off. I totally agree. It's probably in the time when criminals are already hurting. Like it's not represented very well. They're missing key card. They're missing something for recursion right now. They're missing other decent breakers they don't have to influence in. There's a lot of missing pieces. I think I won't say a lot, but there's missing pieces in the criminal space. And whether or not we get them soon is a different story. The fact is that right now we don't have them. And so taking what is effectively one of the most consistent and reliable criminal cards that kind of makes the faction and giving it that influence, it does suck. But of course, I also have to accept that card is so it's like there's like 5 or 4 criminal consoles. I don't know what they are.
So.
Right? Like
there's Doppelganger, Bucket, Forger, Boxy. Yeah. Like, who gives a shit, right?
Right. Like, I mean, those consoles don't exist because Desperado does.
Logos, if you're playing a desk build.
Oh, yeah, Logos.
You had Desperado.
Yeah.
I remember there was a joke. There was a joke on the SimHack forum where people would post decks, and it would be like, and it would always be like this really like people would craft it. They would be like, I run John Macedoni, and I run security testing, and then I run Data Sucker. And so the whole point is, I make a run on a Central, I get all these benefits, and he's Doppelganger, and I make another run on a Central. And someone said, hey, and it would always be someone's like, that's really, really good. You know what makes this even better? If you remove Doppelganger and just use Desperado. How about that? Like, if you... It's like, yeah, you get a free run, but, I mean, you also get free credits, so...
And it was the same with Street Chess as well. Remember that Professor thing with all the pawns? And it's like, yeah, cool. Now you've got like 5 cards, and now you have Desperado. Good job.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think one of the things that makes me sad about Desperado taking a hit is it's a very good card against remote spam decks, which in general are pretty obnoxious. Sometimes become huge for a bit. And like Desperado Wizard or Desperado Val Scrubber is always a good counter, and now you can't really do that now. But remote spam has been kind of receding anyway, so it's not the worst time this could have happened, I guess.
Dave wrote a really good article on dealing with pressure, which is, I think funny now, because I don't think he's going to see any more pressure in his life as the world turns their eyes to his deck building with Criminal now to see what he does with this faction as it's taking its pummeling.
Yeah. I mean, in my ideal world, it would have just made him quit the game, and then UK Nationals would be a lot easier this year. But you got to roll with the punches, I guess.
So is this all you're doing? Your check finally cashed to FFG?
Well, given that prepaid Kate is my go-to runner deck, I don't think I came out of this unscathed either. So,
I think this is going to be really interesting to see where they go. I don't know if this means that Criminal is going to, look to another console or not. But Desperado is just too powerful, and it's just too much something that they need So
Yeah.
I think it might be cut some of the nice to have stuff.
Yeah. I think you still got to keep playing the 3. But yeah,
Think so?
can they just next pack they just give us Desperado again with a different name, 5 influence, and then the first line of the rules text is before you put this in your deck, look at every other criminal console you own, think really hard about whether you want to play them, and then put this in your deck, and it's fine.
The you know, the interesting thing about that is that I looked at the list here, and most of these cards that are on it are core set.
Yeah,
So you know, like there's some stuff that they could have really let slide. Like they might have been able to make, you know, coming up the prepaid voice pad and the NAPD contract. They could have probably stretched it out for another little bit because of the rotation. With those being
Yeah.
in spin, we'll see those move, and Eli being in Genesis, we'll see that move off soon. But I guess they really thought that they were that big of an issue that they had to deal with this right now before rotation.
yeah, that makes sense.
Let's move on. This is Parasite.
Oh,
Everybody knows why this one's on the list.
Yeah,
Because it's the best card.
yeah.
Does
We
this,
already talked about a lot of this stuff with Clone
Yeah, we
Chip,
kind of already covered this.
yeah,
Yeah.
does
but it's
does this,
worth repeating again.
with Parasite out, does this open up a different design space for ice? Are people now going to move to that lower, cheaper ice now? So
I hope so.
Parasite is not out, but with Parasite being more restricted, you know, maybe we won't see it everywhere. But do you think this opens up the timing window to go back to that cheap ice again that won't be parasited out?
I would say so, yeah. I think Tsurugi and Kamine are already kind of worth looking at because they're pretty good against Faust, and now maybe we can play them again. Same with Next Eyes. Maybe it's wishful thinking.
Yeah, people have been getting some work out of Tour Guard recently too. Like that Gagarin deck has been making some waves recently.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I guess we just need to look at all the cheap gear checky ice again, which I think is good for the game. I think Parasite being such a catch-all answer was a bit. Some people have said it should have been Data Sucker, but I definitely think it should have just been one of the two on the list because it was the cards to get like the slow tick up Parasite is one thing, but the ice is dead as soon as it's rezzed is another.
Yeah.
Yeah, because at least with Data Sucker they have the Purge, right? And I think if Data Sucker was on the list, it would be too detrimental to the Anarch the old school suite of breakers where they're fixed there and they need that pump ability from the Data Suckers. But they can do without Parasite if need be.
Yeah, I think this is interesting to compare this to Clone Ship because it feels kind of similar to Clone Ship in that someone that really took a hit from this is all the finger quotes tier 2 Anarchs. But I think, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I'm okay with the entire faction taking a hit because as universally as a faction, it's so good compared to the other two that just taking the whole faction down a notch is probably fine.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And I like Anarch a lot. I'm not salty about playing against them all the time. It's just the faction just feels head and shoulders above everyone else.
well, I mean, you guys basically made the best points I could think of, which are just that killing ice, I mean, the moment it's res is harsh. I mean, like, it's so bad where, like, if at any point in time, if there's Data Sucker counters that have been built up, you immediately question, and Clone Ship is in play, right? You immediately question ever resing a piece. Like, basically, if they run a piece of ice, you're like, well, I don't res, because I just lose money and it just dies. So
Yeah.
Then everything
instead,
just keeps getting worse.
yeah, it's like, so I guess something I can, yeah, right, because they'll continue getting those sucker counters to the point where the only option now is my next turn, auto purge. I have to. That's the only answer. And then, but then you get into that position again where it's, well, their next play is end of your turn, Clone Ship that Parasite out, it comes in with one, and then another turn, there comes another, right? So Parasite's a very powerful card. Wasn't there a shirt that was made a while back that said, Parasite is my icebreaker? You guys remember that?
Yeah.
And there was a shirt that said that. I mean, like, the power of that card can't be denied. And I agree also with, I believe, what Miles said. It opens up the space for, like, Miles and Jameson, it opens up the space again for weaker eyes. Like, I mean, right now, they just, Koma Inu, Tsurugi are cards that are basically not played. And they're not played because they have a high cost and low strength, so a Parasite just ends them almost immediately. You reduce the likelihood of Parasite being played and make it taxing for Parasites. In addition to the other taxing, things like cloneship, we're less likely to see, we're more likely to see ice like that being represented and played again. I personally love Komai Inu. It's one of my favorite pieces of ice, and I have not played it in something like a year. I haven't played it since 2014 Worlds, because
part of the reason that I think it's fine for Parasite to take a hit is I think Parasite hurts Jinteki and Whaler more than it hurts MBN and HB, and MBN and HB are the two best Corp factions, because Jinteki seems to have high cost, low strength, good effect as like just part of its ice. There's loads of it. They have loads of ice that does that. And Wayland has all this just like gear check in the run that does nothing else, so they can't punish you when they res it, whereas MBN has all this cheap on encounter ice, and HB has a lot of high strength. So Parasite hurts the weaker two factions more than the stronger two as well. Parasite's not great versus MBN, for example.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Do you think both pieces of the combo needed to get hit, the clone ship and the Parasite?
Probably.
If we make the restriction on clone ship, do you think they could have left Parasite off this list for a bit to see how that affected it? Or do you
Not
think
sure.
Even in faction, Deja Vu.
The kind of thing they're so linked. Like it's a strong effect, and they become stronger with each other. So it's really hard to say. I think it probably has to be both.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Like there was a long time where I just wouldn't even have a deck without Parasite in it. Like whatever faction.
Yeah.
Interesting comment in the chat. Does this make the cutlery stuff?
Yeah, we should talk about that later.
More popular.
Yeah, it's definitely worth coming back to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on.
That was a good question, though, because I actually had not thought about that at all. Good question.
Yeah, I've seen people discussing that.
The prepaids, prepaid voice pad. This is another piece that.
It's a sad day.
This is
Pull one out.
This is another piece of Alex's baby. That is.
I've made real life money off prepaid voice pad with some tournaments. So, don't talk to me about prep. So I'll get on my soapbox for like a minute, and then you guys can talk about the rest. Can talk about the card between. I think it's probably okay that it's on the list, but unlike the way it stands out, unlike almost basically every other card, this is only on the list to hurt one archetype, right? Like no one was upset about prepaid Ken 10 or like Matt's events
I
or
was
like Apex is played. Like it's only for Kate, so that maybe that's fine, but. It's not a power. It's this. Every other card, most of the other cards on this list are there because the card is good. This is on here because the deck is good, and that's odd to me. The other thing is this card is also worth talking about over others because basically every other card on this list will probably continue to see play. I don't know if we'll ever see anyone play a prepaid voice pad ever again. Like they almost might as well have banned it. And I know that sounds like hyperbole, but are you really going to pay an influence to play a prepaid voice pad?
Now it costs you 9 influence to have these unlucky find.
Yeah.
Like come on.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's sad. I think the way that Kate players seem to have gone is to keep their clone chips and their ladies and just play a new econ package, which is fun. And I don't know. Was prepaid really that? Whatever. Maybe it should be, but it's the one that's weirding me out the most, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm bummed about this.
Miles, I was going to bring up that point that when you put prepaid voice pad on the same level as some of these other neutral cards that we've given influence to, it just doesn't seem to stack up. I can't look at this and say that this card deserves a pip of influence.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Alex says, it kills one deck because there is what is there? There's prepaid Ken 10 and there's people put in Anarch sometimes, right, as well. People do
Apex
that with
often use it just because he has no econ. It has no econ in faction, so
Adam as well. Like all those neutral ones, their econ is all shithouse anyway. But like, it's just I don't know. I don't know if it's necessary with Lady and Clone Chip and Parasite already on the list. Yeah. Is this even necessary?
Yeah. And Kate's not even necessarily the best deck. It didn't win Worlds.
But I think
sure. It's the most fun deck.
I think the point of going to a different econ strategy is going to be the way that people go. I think this is a card that is not going to see play now, and I have a feeling a lot of people might gravitate towards the Tech Writer in this in this instance.
Procos as well.
Alice,
Damn. So I mean, it basically, I guess when I line it up, it's like, all right, so Val DLR took a hit. Noise, in general, because Parasite and Clone Chips, goodness, just took a 6 influence hit, right? If as the deck is currently made, it just took a 6
Noise is
influence
worth discussing as it pertains to this list, but maybe we'll jump up later.
And then also Criminal took a hit. So it's pretty much like, and the Shapers already took a hit. So it's like, well, I mean, what else in Shaper can take a hit? And I think the only thing that it can. It's embarrassing for me because I don't have good answers for this.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like Prepaid could still exist with the Lady and Clone Chip nerfs and just be not as good, you know. But now it just can't exist at all. Like you can't play it anymore.
Is this all the Shaper cards now? That the Clone Chip, Lady, and now this card? And technically, if we're being real, this is a Shaper card right now. So
yeah,
that basically means that this Prepaid Kate just took a 1, 2, 3, 4,
9.
5. Yeah, 9 influence hit. Oh, you're right, because they use
it's 9, and then Lucky Find is 6. So I mean, like you can't do it anymore. I don't see it you can at all.
The Kate list that I've seen being tested by like well-known prepaid Kate players just cut the econ package and play Procos and daily casts, and even sometimes Catty Jones. God, it's so awkward compared to how it was.
Yeah, which is awkward. Like I think you just Anyway, I think you do something else at that point. But whatever.
Definitely the speed of which a lot of this work has been cut, and I don't know. I mean, I think part of this is going to be how does the meta shift, knowing that this isn't a thing. Like, is someone going to be the dinosaur, right? But are they going to be a crafty dinosaur, and are they going to say, I'm playing prepaid Kate, or a version of this Kate deck, regardless of what you guys have done, and we're going to see how that works, and maybe they'll do well with it. Or it could just be a thing where the competitive community and casual players gravitate towards, an entirely different list. Like you said, maybe one that instead is the looking for job Kates. So now instead of dealing with prepaid voice pad and Lucky Find, maybe now the deck is three career fair, and they're using daily cast and other resource based econ and just getting a discount that way. Not to mention,
you can still play Kate. You can still play Shaper. It's just that, it has to be a different deck.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, Kate still comes out of this well because she has inbuilt econ on like basically every other Shaper, so she can take the econ better than most.
I'm thinking
but
career
like I said,
fair.
Professor has been being looked at now.
There were Shaper lists before prepaid voice, before prepaid Kate. They existed. So it's just shitty that this can't exist. I'm just mad about this one personally because I love the deck. But, whatever. There's still I can still play Kate. It's fun.
There isn't very much hardware left that gives econ now, because the whole reason this card got looked at in the first place was people trying to use the Kate discount to make actual money, and prepaid voice pad was the obvious one. I don't know if there's any other econ hardware that exists. It's generally something they haven't done. So I mean, maybe that is why prepaid's kind of an anomaly. It's a hardware thing.
Cyber feeder.
Anyway. Yeah, Cyber feeder. How plays that? Hey. Yeah. Desperate. Yeah. All right. Next, Rooney.
Yuck.
Smart.
I'm not angry about this. It just doesn't make sense.
Just weird, right? This is one of those design space things, though. Like, it's not a big deal in the meta right now, but they've sort of tried to do it with, like, Lotus Field and stuff like that before. But I guess it's just, like you said, with the low-cost Ice and Parasite, they just want to be able to print code gates that are less than strength 3.
But, like, this is on the list and Faust isn't, which is just blowing my mind.
Yeah, well.
List of Faust is... Whatever. It costs 5. Like, maybe it should have been 2 MU or something like that. Maybe they should have just, like, made it a little bit of an extra cost. I don't know.
It's almost really weird that when I saw this, I really thought, oh man, did they print the next, like, 2 cycles ready to go, and they're all, like, 3 strength code gates, and they're like, we gotta do something to fix this right quick.
Your pack comes through and there's, like, Sharpie on the strength of the game.
We can't just make them all strength 4 again. We tried that.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, I mean, it really makes me wonder, because this one is like you're going through the list and you're like, wait, this just came out of nowhere. All of a sudden they stuck Yogg on the end of it.
Yeah.
We
York's good, but I've never seen anyone get mad about it. I don't
Not
like.
for a long time, anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
It
I don't-
definitely.
They're all equally baffled by this, right?
I definitely
Yes,
feel like
that's my take.
it's the only thing. I think the only thing it can be is design space, right? Because it can't be. The card's not OP, but now the question is why is the card's efficient, super efficient, and I think the reason why it's not like ridiculous is because we've learned to not play certain cards because it exists, right?
Yeah, people have been dealing with Yogg for a very long time. It's like the account siphon, right? This is a core set problem, so
Yeah.
you've just learned to deal with it.
Yep.
The only issue I've ever had with Yogg is that it goes back to the faction strength thing that we talked about with Lady. It's, maybe it should have been a Shaper card, because I think Shaper should have the best decoders.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I guess York got a little bit better when Street Peddler got printed, because before York costing 5 was a really clever part of the design, because you'd have to hit that gate and then pay 5. So it was kind of fair, where they'd spend 3 on Enigma, you'd pay 5 on a Yogg, and you blank some of their eyes. But then it was at the point where it's like, okay, res Enigma, and I don't even get to fire it once, because that Yogg's just going to come straight off that Peddler. So maybe there's that aspect, I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah, other than
And
that,
it goes hand in hand with Parasite, so I guess putting them on the list together, there's a logic to it.
that concludes the runner cards. Do you guys want to talk about IDs that pretty much got hit, or should we just blaze through the corpse first and talk about that at the end?
Up to you guys. I've got some stuff to say about IDs, but we can wait till the end. Or
Sure.
Is it worth talking runner decks now? Or should we do like a big deck/IDs?
it might be worth doing
rundown?
runner decks now, just so it's all in one neat
Yeah.
package and skip to whatever part of the video they want. I don't know. You guys do this, not me. But
I'm fine talking about the runner side. It definitely feels like it seems like some of the list was definitely targeting very specific archetypes as opposed to a general power level of factions. Granted, it's also worth considering the cards that were targeted were some of the most powerful cards in those factions. So the entire faction takes a hit, but definitely the most dominant archetypes, as we know it, have to change. We already talked about Prepaid Kate, right? That archetype has to change. Any noise deck, you can, with your Aesop's Pawn Shop, I don't think you can really do 2 clone chip or 3 clone chip and 3 parasite anymore, right?
That's
Consensus.
true. I think you can cut 2 clone chip and you're probably actually not.
yeah, that's the
bad.
consensus on noise. You just cut the 2 chip and act like nothing
because
has
you can
happened.
go through measure.
Gotcha.
When I first saw this list, I was like, oh sweet, I think Noise is probably too good and he's going to take a hit, but I'm not sure if he has. If you look at post most wanted list runner decks that exist now, like you look at how Shaper and Criminal have reacted, and then you just look at the Noise deck, Noise actually hasn't suffered that much at all, and he's going to be a very good go-to in the wake of this list. He just cuts 2 clone chips, and clone chip was good in Noise, but it's not Wildside or Faust or Pawn Shop or all the other things that make Noise so good. So I don't think the major complaints I've seen about the list from the runner side that make sense to me are Noise didn't really get hit, and just the regular Anak, like the Val decks, didn't really get hit by this. So, I don't know how much better Kate was than all of that kind of stuff. I've seen people say Blackmail should have been on the list. Like, I'm not sure about that, but I don't know. Some people just hate Blackmail, though, don't they?
Yeah, I think it's totally fine.
There's
yeah.
there's nothing on the runner side that I think is going to change too
Oh, I
dramatically.
do. I think Nexus Kate is going to be way more of a deal. Does anyone else think that? Because Nexus Kate's
People keep
pretty
talking
legit.
about this deck.
It's pretty. Have you tried it, man? It's pretty serious.
No, I haven't. To be fair, I haven't tried.
It's
But
actually
basically,
way better than you think.
everyone in the UK thinks the deck is garbage, but not enough people have tested it yet. So
You
maybe that's,
have
I
to
don't mean
actually
speak
test
from
it because I had the
entire
same
nation,
thing. I
but
looked at it and I was like, that seems a bit shit. And then I played it and I was like, holy crap, man! I can go wherever I want all the time.
okay, maybe
It's
I'll
worth
test it.
testing. If you just need to put a ton of drawing.
Yeah. Modded was a big winner from this. I think we're going to see a lot more modded. That card was already pretty good, but it just didn't have a
agreed.
space. Modded RDI, you play your ladies anyway. So, like, Kate with 2 or 3 modded is looking better now.
More like old school EK, right?
Yeah,
like the
exactly.
Co and the early cast, less dynamic, more big rig kind of thing.
Yeah. Like I said, people do people know how this list interacts with Professor? I know Professor's kind of been a pipe dream, but it is worth talking about because Professor is not affected by the list at all. His influence stays at 1 no matter what cards he puts in his deck, so he can play 3 clone chip, 3 lady, and still have his 1 influence to spend. So I've been testing a bit of Professor and basically hating it, but maybe it'll turn out to be good when someone figures it out.
Yeah, but the whole list is good because of the Kate discount, and that's a whole nother topic of discussion.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't just build Professor like Kate, but he might be the second best shaper, and that's honestly not hyperbole.
Well, that was if you watched the Bad Publicity episode with Damon Stone, that was his pick for one of the IDs that he was surprised people weren't gravitating towards.
I mean, people always say this with Professor. They're like, the more programs they print, the better he gets. But you've got to put 45 cards in your deck, so it's not like he gets exponentially better. I don't know, maybe, but his econ is just so awkward. That's what I found with testing him. I put Proco in and I was like, this is a good card, and you could just keep drawing more garbage programs that you don't want to use or can't play. You're like, at least I'm getting money. So
there you go, man.
Without seeing what's coming,
cool.
I think people are just going to retool some of the top decks a bit. Like we talked about some of the changes that Kate can make. Noise can readjust and stuff. But what do you guys think from the other side? Do you think that corporation, without taking into account the cards that are on the corporate side most wanted list, but do you think other than cheap ice, the corporation will build their decks any different based on these cards being restricted? Or not restrict, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Well, NBN has to make some, definite tweaks. HB gets Food Choice is in a bit of a rough spot, right? Like, what do you do here? Well, not a rough spot, because HB influence has always been sort of luxurious for HB anyway, but what do you put in now,
Yeah, without looking at the corp side of the list, HB, Food, and Fastro come out of this really well, because Lady is super good against HB, and Clone Chip taking a hit means it's much harder for people to keep Clot in play, so Fastro was also pretty happy looking at the runner side of this. And Desperado as well. MBN super happy to see Desperado get a hit.
Yes. A few other things as well, we've got the L4J Wizard is probably going to be pretty alright, I think. Like that straightforward-y anarchy thing.
I love that
Faust,
deck, thank goodness.
I like it too. The Aggro Gabe thing, the Faust Gabe thing that's been around now, that's probably going to, I don't know, maybe even go away because it gets hit really, really hard. And that was a pretty decent deck, actually.
How much does that deck need its clone chips? Because
I don't think the clone but it does really need clone chips and parasites. Or it needs a bunch of parasites. And it needs Desperado as well.
Yeah, Desperado is, that's a shame. I feel like there's still a Gabe Faust deck, though. I think the Archetype can still depending on the meta, can still maybe put a result.
It's pretty, it's a good deck. I really like it. Anyway.
Yeah, I think it's good too.
Yeah.
And I like where it stands at the game.
Hollis, you got anything to add there, man?
The more I think about it, the more I'm actually just really... Honestly, the changes on the runner side makes me super excited for changes on the corp side, and vice versa. Because, we've become accustomed to playing against certain decks built certain ways. Like, for example, we've become accustomed to people, always having clone chip available to go grab that clock. Well, I mean, when we take into account all the changes here that affect very specific archetypes, for that clot to exist and then to clone chip it into play is now 3 influence. It is or you know what I mean, like clots 2 in shape for clots 2, and then that clone chip is an additional influence. So if clot's getting cut and influence is still an issue, are they going to lose more clone chips now and prevent fast advance from? Or is fast advance going to just completely overrun things? Or does nothing change? Does everyone rationalize, oh, sure, whatever, I got to do this because fast advance is a thing, so I have to play these cards. And if that's the case, how does it affect the rest of the build? That's what I'm super excited about. I personally am not the greatest deck builder, but I do expect the collective minds of the Netrunner community to fine-tune the best decks in the meta most of the time. And, I mean, it's inevitable. It's going to happen. And I'm really interested to see what they come up with as far as changes for, any of these new cards. New cards. New influence changes. It's going to be really, really cool. Magnum Opus is back, boys. I don't know.
One thing that's
Bad.
interesting comparing the runner list to the corp list without delving too deep into the corp list is most of the corp cards are just good and have good efficient numbers, whereas the runner cards they've picked kind of change the way the game is played in some ways. So I think we see more of a paradigm shift for the runner than we do for the corp, because the corp just kind of its numbers got worse.
Shall we get into those?
Yeah.
Corporation, first up, that I was surprised to see is the Architect.
Yeah, I think this is the most surprising corp card on the corp side.
I think I'm surprised to see it from a design perspective, mostly because this was a world champion card. They say that world champion cards, they err on the side of power. They'd rather make them more powerful.
Yeah.
But I would have thought too that this being a, my mind keeps wanting to say fan, but like a fan card, like a world champion card, a card designed by a player, that this would have gone through the most vigorous testing schedule ever, just because it's like somebody with, I don't want to jump on Jeremy, but I don't know how much design space or design, I'm fumbling here, but I think he's probably won so many FFG games already. He's world champion for the first year that a game comes out, so he's probably designed enough cards. But I wonder, why Architect? Like, I would have thought this would have been play tested at the Yin Yang, and I didn't think anyone had any issues with it.
Well, maybe it's just because there's 3 in every HP deck. There's at least 2 in most NBN decks, and it is ridiculous in both HP and NBN. Like, it's... I don't know. Everyone knows it's powerful. But,
it is... I haven't really thought about that until you talked about that, Jamie, but it is very strange because it's a world champion card, and it kind of puts future world champions in a slightly odd spot where they're like... Because before you just want to make your card as powerful as possible, and now you might be like, not so sure, I don't want it to take this hit, I don't want it to be kind of buffeted around in the meta by these power level shifts. So it's a bit odd. I think 6 months ago, putting this card on this list made sense, but now I think this card's pretty fair. Our post-Data and Destiny, NBN's playing it less than it used to. So it's just a good HB card, which, I don't know. And it's a good punishing sentry, and there aren't actually a ton of properly punishing sentry face checks until the mid to late game when program trashing comes online. So Criminal and Noise are pretty happy to see this hit because they can start running on turns 1 and 2 again.
Yeah,
with less impunity.
I thought it was strange too, because like you said, that the first time it came out, I think we really thought like, oh my god, this card is so bananas. And then the more you play it, the more you're like, okay, Mimic's gonna handle it. It's doing its thing. And because it wasn't able to trash, it was really like only like a 2 credit tax every turn,
Yeah.
maybe that's
and it's an interesting and fun to play card too. It leads to interesting decision trees and that kind of thing, which is a shame.
Yeah, reward smart play.
Hollis, you're not anonymous anymore. You're not pixelated.
I think I fixed the camera issue.
Right.
But
get in here. Get in on this, Architect.
yeah. Alex, yes. Jameson, yes. Miles, yes. Done. No, yeah.
Good job, team.
Everything you guys have said is basically exactly what I've been thinking already. I mean, it is the go-to sentry, right? Like, I need a low cost sentry that's really, really good. Neurokatana, I'm out. Nah. Instead, you'll take Architect because it's just the best. It's free clicks.
Yeah.
It is basically free clicks. I don't know, like, it actually, and it's even worse than that. It's actually 2 free clicks. If it all triggers, the card says gain 2 clicks to install cards.
Did you ever have
Okay,
someone
you
face
just-
check this on their turn 1 when you were playing NEH? It was like you got an extra turn because you got a free draw if you installed it yourself. So it was literally 3 free clicks.
Right. I mean, the card is so good to where, I mean, if you don't have that Sentry Breaker immediately or a way to fetch it, you're probably not running, right? Like, I mean, hitting an Architect sometimes, even if, I'm not talking about, the last click hitting it. I mean, hitting an Architect sometimes, period, to click 1, where you can maybe try to mitigate some of the damage from them getting the free clicks, can just end your game. I mean, the ability to install a brand new piece of ice over, install one brand new piece of ice from the top 5 of your deck, and then install another piece of ice from your hand, means that at the time when the runner could be at a low credit amount, if you've got that Astro, that Bill, or whatever the accelerated beta test, you can literally just throw it down into that server with 2 low-cost ice and say, it's a race, good luck. You know, and that was it. Like,
Makes
that's
base
pretty
test
much
easier to fire too.
right. Yeah, I mean, it's so powerful that way, and I just don't see anyone not taking it. I built a Wayland deck and I put it in my Wayland deck.
Who does this hurt the most? HB, now that they have to pay another influence for
Yeah, it's
Oh, yeah.
mostly
card,
HP.
or
Oh,
is
yeah.
it because I don't believe it's hurting. I think NBN, they're just gonna swap it out
Yeah,
for something else.
turn
A lot. Well, I believe that the top finishing fast advanced list at Worlds, played by UK player Tim Fowler, I don't think he had any architect. He might have had one. Like he,
Yeah.
the
Just
Eli,
because people expect it now, right? Like you just always expect the architect now, so it's less good.
people probably still play around it. I guess you got that going for you.
Yep.
Yeah, I really think HB needed this, and that really hurts them as a faction.
Yeah, I think the card is good, and it does weird stuff, but I think it's good in a fair way. It's also a shame to see it go, because you play the game for powerful, interesting cards, and Architect is both of those things.
Oh, good point.
It's probably one of the most interesting, clever, fun cards on this list, right? A lot of them are just good at what they do, but this... I feel like basically all the rest of the Corp cards are just efficient. Maybe not Sansa, maybe that is weird too, but Architect is super interesting, and it's going to be sad to see it go. It's the fun factor. It's going to be lost.
Is the next card on this list the exact opposite, though, of everything you talked about? Fun, interesting. As we move
It's
to
the best. Anyway,
pilot
no, what
program?
this is a very elegant way of forcing NBN to pay the Jackson tax.
Yeah, yeah. Astro being on this list is absolutely fine. I think it deserves to. I think
It is a ridiculous agenda.
Yeah,
And I play NBN pretty much exclusively, and I agree that it's just a fucking stupid agenda. You know?
but you need agendas to be good too, because it's such the way the game is set up. Only one side of the two is forced to put cards that are worth points in their deck, which is a pretty big tax on the corp. So that is why agendas have to be so stupid good to be playable, because it's already huge. Sometimes it's a huge disadvantage to be playing them. So they should be good. Astro forces people to play the game in a different way. It punishes big rig and slow early decks. So I'm glad that we haven't seen it leave. I'm glad that it's not a 3-1 or a 4-2 or whatever weird Astro fixes people
always want like 2, don't they?
Like,
Yeah.
it has. That's the whole point of the card, is that it changes
Exactly.
itself.
You got to deal with this, guys. Stop whinging. It's like a count siphon. Hollis.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean, no, it's just like a count siphon, right? I mean, we've said this about a lot of the cards here, because a lot of these cards are core cards, but like, we're accustomed to playing the game, knowing this card exists, knowing what it's capable of. Like, at this point, and granted, I know there may be newer players that are maybe listening to this, but if you're a longtime player and you have been playing for the last year, 6 months even, you know what this card is capable of, and you can probably rationalize immediately why it's on this damn list. If you looked at this list and you said, I can't believe Astro's on here. I mean, Lady and Clone Ship makes sense, but Astro, like if that was your mentality, I cannot help you. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, this card is so powerful. I mean, it turns every 3/2 into, you know, an even faster agenda, and you combining it with, God forbid, you know, other counters or other fast advance options, like ones that are commonly used, like Haas Arcology AI. Yeah, that one. You're combining it with other fast advance options. I mean, it's super ramps, right? I mean, it's so fast. And
putting this on the list only hurts one faction, which is super elegant. Yeah. So there's no splash damage like there is maybe with some of the other cards. It's like only one faction could play it, and it just taxes them, and that's fine. So
yeah,
exactly. It's fine. It's fun to be there.
For the flip side of this, I kind of had an issue with Astro being on this list, mostly for the same reason that Desperado was on the list. I think that all this does is you're just forcing people to look at other options. I don't think there was ever a problem with the pilot program, like you said, Alex. I think it was designed to do what it does. I thought MBN was the fast advance faction, so you know, you had to tool your deck at tournaments to fight a big rig and also fight a fast advance if you should come across it. Everyone talks about how crazy NBN is and how powerful Pilot Script is and the Sand stuff. But I mean, let's get down to the nitty gritty. And they've never won a huge level tournament like Worlds, right?
They won Worlds, plenty of other stuff though. Like UK, American Nationals was this, wasn't it?
I think Lucas Lee plays a lot of.
Right, but,
was UK Nationals, Alex? Did you take?
No,
this?
that was RP. But I won the Psy games with Fastro, so.
Oh, okay, right.
Count that as a major tournament.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think this is like you said with Desperado, it's a reasonably good comparison in that people have been talking about putting other agendas that are not AstroScript in your decks, and I just, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't. Just don't. You're going to make a bad decision. It's just an influence hit to use the best in the game.
You're still going to play it, and you just took a power level hit for it, which is the perfect place for this list to be.
I thought everybody was playing the turntable, though.
There is
the
counter for it.
This, right?
You can play
Turntables.
I think this is a very interesting hit in faction, but they can deal with it.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anything else on this one?
I would say I'm excited. I really want to see if in a few months, if anybody, and I don't think it's going to happen even with this, but I want to see if anybody can rationalize not ever putting 3 of this in a deck, and I don't think it'll ever happen. I actually got into, I'll say discussion is probably more apt to say it's an argument online. With people online, I got to a discussion online about, some of these restrictions and things like that, and someone brought up, like, the world is yours. And I remember looking at that, and I was going, well, like, some of these cards are really hard to justify their inclusion because they make certain IDs. We're going to talk about this later, but they'll make certain IDs much worse. But there's some IDs that were already outclassed. They were already worth not playing. And if you were playing with them, you played them knowing they were not worth playing by comparison of other IDs already. And I'm not talking about like different, a whole different strategy, like what Kit does, sort of to what Kate does. It's very clearly different, right? As far as how they're kind of meant to run. But like the world is yours the world is yours wasn't even relevant after NEH dropped. It was not even possible for it to ever be relevant. Yeah, like that card that basically becomes an ID that just goes back in the box. And while everyone is entitled to play what they want to play, it's one of those circumstances where it's like this just got outclassed. Period by the game. The game moved past this card. So there's
I think it's probably okay for. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
No,
I think it's probably okay for them to print cards that outclass certain other cards. Generally, I mean, this is probably something that I get because I used to play a bit of Magic the Gathering, but them printing cards better than other cards is fine because otherwise they hamstring themselves the more cards they print. So like, I think it's okay for them to say, okay, we tried this style of card. It wasn't good, but it's an interesting idea. Let's print a better version. And you obsoleted an old card, but you got a cool new card that's probably better. So like sometimes stuff like Twee has to take the hit, but it's for the good of the game, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's why I think NBN doesn't really see that big of a hit because you play an NEH deck, they've boosted the influence on that ID anyway. So now you're just running a 45-15, right? Because you got 3 Astros in it. Whoa. Right?
Yeah.
With a really good power, yeah, exactly.
Right, but
yeah. The NEH power is also absurd, which makes the 17 influence really strange.
You look at some of these other ones. I think any corporation that already has a lower influence count, those are the ones that are going to see some struggles.
Yeah.
Well, Brendel doesn't play any of the cards on this list, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Hey,
and Jinteki is fairly safe. I mean, other than those Eli's in RP, but
that's worth talking about at the end too. The way the corp reacts to this is much more obvious than the way the runner reacts to it, which is kind of interesting.
So that was my lame transition into Eli 1.0 on the list.
That's so yourself short there.
Getting one of the best barriers from an influence.
I think you might have spoken there, actually. It's the best one. Like, the best.
Yeah.
Right? No question.
Yeah. From an influence perspective, from a cost perspective, this guy's doing work. And again, HB just got slapped in the face.
I mean,
Yeah.
but like it's pretty much like before. I mean, pre this, I would say it's probably the best piece of ice in the game. Like, I mean, that's debatable, obviously, but how many corp decks do you not just stick 3 Eli in before everything else? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because it's number. Because like Alex said before, its numbers are ridiculous for anything that's not lady.
They could have just printed Eli 2.0 already. Like, come on.
Which is not the question, right?
Plus 2 influence. That's good. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what else do you think? I can definitely see why they've done this one as well.
Too powerful.
Yeah.
Too powerful.
This is the respite that Shapers and Criminals get. It's super interesting that Lady and Eli both made the list and took a hit at the same time.
Yeah, really interesting.
Do you know who takes the biggest hit on this? Me, because I'm still holding my 3 alt-art Elis that probably no one's going to buy now.
Wow.
They're going to be
wow.
money forever. Have you seen how much those melanges go for? When's the last time someone put melange in a deck?
Oh my gosh.
All you Eli promo speculators are going to be just fine.
Okay.
200 per, right? Those are so pricey.
It's like the
Yeah.
stock market, right? Like I've been holding these Elis, and then all of a sudden Damon releases this most wanted list, and the bubble just pops.
Damon's going to buy up all the cheap promo Elis and then take it off the list and
Yeah,
make us
private security force is next on the list. You wait.
all promo cards banned.
I think this one is pretty straightforward, guys. So I don't really have much to say about Eli. I think maybe it should have been a 2 influence card from the beginning, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was seeing a bit less play out of faction around the time this hit. Again, like six months to a year ago, it was so ubiquitous, and now MBN is kind of doing without it. Obviously, Wayland never plays it, so Wayland's not so sad to see it go.
right.
HB is fine taking a hit. HB's super good right now. Food Coats, before this list, Food Coats is head and shoulders the best court deck. So
And then those RP lists that were just running Elis. That's
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, they get. I think if you look at it, also just to add more to this, there was just. I mean, we have ice that are basic barriers that don't ever see play, and they don't ever see play because of Eli. Like, I don't see Wall of Static anymore, and I think Wall of Static is fine. I don't see Bastion. I can't remember the last time I saw Bastion in a deck, actually.
that card might actually be all right now. Yeah.
Yeah, like I just don't remember. I mean, and I think I don't want to say it was because of Eli, but I'm pretty sure Bastion was printed before Eli. Was it?
All right. Bastion
Was it?
is honor. Honor and profit.
Okay, so basically, yeah. So
Oh, no,
I guess
creation and control.
No, it's in creation control. Yeah.
Yeah, but still after Eli.
yeah. So I mean, what that means is that Eli, Eli came out, and I mean, at the time, I think, that was super early for me. It was a matter of Bastion was a card that you can play in decks now, and that was before I think Atman, right? That was right before Atman
Same time.
got big, like.
Yeah.
So once everyone figured Atman at 4 just ruins everything, it was like, all right, well, we can't really do this anymore. And then Bastion just never saw play again, and it was completely eclipsed because if everyone's gonna Atman anyway, you might as well get 2 subs as opposed to 1 on the Bastion.
Yeah.
And it just people would just rationalize it.
Well, the static is like kind of pretty okay actually because of that 3 strength. It's actually quite nice against Faust, especially in the early game.
Yeah. It's still a 1 or a 2 of in lots of HB decks.
Yeah, I think it's all right. Well, static. Yeah.
I want to play Marcus again. People keep telling me that this list doesn't mean we can play Marcus again, Marcus 1.0, and I don't believe them. I'm going to start putting him in decks and seeing if it
Well,
does
Mark's in, is it right?
Yeah. Cheeky base check punishing on it. It's really bad when they don't mind trashing a card, I guess, but whatever.
Yeah, empty him. Yeah.
one that I think does deserve to be on the list is the next one. NAPD contract came out right before they started putting 1 influence on these powerful neutral agendas. I have no qualms about NAPD contracts.
Yeah, 100%. It should always have been 1 influence.
Yeah, it's.
So I guess.
And again, I haven't seen anyone get upset about it. Not really. They're not.
Nope.
NAPD, no.
Yeah.
And
It's worse now as a Val too.
I guess
and a lot
there's-
of decks are
I don't
getting
think-
eclipsed.
I really don't think there's anything else to say about it. I think that it needed to be done, and
It'll still get played, but it's a choice you've got to make instead of being as ubiquitous as it was before. Like, the decks will still want to play it if they're kind of taxing people or trying to build a remote, but you can't just start slapping it into fast advance and rush decks and being like, it's just better than all my other agendas, because it is.
Yeah.
Compare this to like FCOM and Helium or 3 Deposit or whatever. So yeah, it's fine. It's a bit sad that we all got the promos and then they made it worse. But.
Again, that stock.
I
market
sold
bubble,
mine.
right?
Yeah, I got the inside line and I stuck those bad boys on eBay.
You got out before.
This
Gotta
card's
play the
still
market,
good.
man.
The next one and the last one here is the Sansan City Grid, something that's people have been fighting from the core set days.
Yeah, this I actually find kind of weird.
It's a tad odd, isn't it?
Yeah, I think this is strange. Just because you've already got Astro and NAPD. I don't know. Yeah, it just seems a little bit over the top. And it seems like they're like, hey, you don't do this in HB anymore. Or if you're doing that Titan one as well, which is reasonably good. It's just a bit odd.
The argument I see for doing this is that even with this corp side of the list, NBM Fastro is still looking pretty good, whereas Food Coats is looking a bit worse. So you took the best deck down a peg with this list, so maybe you want to take the second best deck down a peg as well, just to be safe. I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
But I don't know. No one's really upset or offended by it, I don't think. It's a bit weird, but it's whatever. It is very good.
The res cost, trash cost, influence, ability. I didn't have a problem with anything with this card. So it sat at a weird location at the last corp card on the list.
Like Yogg, a bit weird, but not outwardly offensive.
It couldn't be a sign though, like of something to come.
They said there's another 3-2 neutral agenda coming, but no one really knows anything.
Yeah, that's true actually. And that could, you'd assume that has some weak stipulation, like, can't score at same turn or some absurd amount of influence.
When they first announced there was a 3-2 neutral agenda, I was willing to bet money that it was can't score the same turn. Now I'm not so sure, but I would still take
it could be
some
just like 4 influence or something,
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be something.
With these changes, it could be.
I was thinking about the same thing when I was thinking of the Jinteki, that 4-3, the protein strain. I was like, there has to be some negative thing that's going to balance this out. And
I've heard that there is.
With the Sansan City Grid being on the list, it just makes me wonder.
Sansan did get a bit silly when team sponsorship came out, because it meant that you could start doing some real nonsense where you'd be like, okay, Astro, put another Astro in, Biotic, another Astro, breaking news for the win. So there was that combo feel. That's when Sansan felt, when you were just scoring out an agenda in one turn with Sansan, it was fine. But once people started doing combos with it, it was a bit more upsetting, I guess.
So that's actually what I'm doing at the moment with my NBN, is that combo sponsorship, like the reduced influence.
Yeah.
So I still think it's really, really good.
Yeah.
So the
trying to decide the right.
So what? So with the with all the cars on the corporation side, we didn't see anything from Wayland, and we didn't see anything from Jinteki. So how do you think those are affected with these cards?
Jinteki, I think RP's in a weird spot from this, right? Because RP loves ELI, obviously it's fantastic on remotes, but RP hates noise, and we already talked about how noise is probably going to be okay out of this. So I don't really know what you guys think about this. And like you said as well, because you can chuck in your Sarugas and your Kamainus now and not worry about them exploding so much. So RP's maybe going to be good, like go well out of this, maybe.
RP was my go-to. I think RP and Blue Sun came out of this a lot better. But the question is, do they still reach the levels of HB and Fastro? They might still not, especially if everyone jumps to noise. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the thing RP dislike, I guess, when it comes to noise, RP dislikes the mill because it likes to go long, but it also hates when noise parasites everything. And now noise just lost 2 more parasites, so that helps.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
The matchup might have changed.
Blue Sun really likes less theoretical, less lady, I think.
Yeah.
And
Blue Sun is just happy that Prepaid Kate is hit because it's historically not been great against Prepaid Kate.
Yeah,
and
sure.
Parasite spam is really bad against Blue Sun until it's good, and then it's really, really good. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like when it does nothing until they get 10 data sucker counters, and then you basically can't win. So it's good that line has been lost.
Yeah, for sure.
So what about the shift in tier 1? Do you think Sync becomes viable in
Kalim's just talking about Sync. He thinks it's great.
Yeah, Sync's on the bubble on the bubble. I think that Sync biotic sort of thing, and QPM is so ridiculous. Like,
yeah,
man, that's a good agenda. Sync's in a decent place. I would really like
wasn't
to know.
playing Sansan to begin with, so it doesn't really
exactly.
matter.
Yep.
No, Sync really didn't take advantage of any of these cards that are on this list already.
Yeah. Except Butcher, Astro. God, sorry, I'm getting tired. Except for Astro. What about a butcher shop gets hosed, right?
Yeah, because
Well-
your influence looks really strange now, doesn't it? You kind of have to go
Yeah.
back to NEH if you want to play it, I think, because you can't play 3 Astro, 3 Traffic, 3 Scorch now.
Scorch, not even in NEH. And also,
No,
in the
in
strength
NEH.
list was all, and you can't do Sansan. And the best butcher shop list always had Sansan because you could do cool stuff. You know, you could do breaking news, Astro counter shenanigans to get the tags. You know what I mean?
I think the best version of Butcher was the one with profiteering, which doesn't get hit quite as hard.
yeah,
That
that one
might
just-
still be good.
Yeah, that
I don't
one
know. I
is-
wasn't seeing Sansan in the lists I liked, but
because that's
You know
got
the-
all your invincible.
yeah, you know the Brits played like 80 games, Cape versus Harp on the plane to Worlds, so I have a lot of opinions and thoughts about the deck. I don't know I don't know what it looks like now. It's probably still
surely
good.
you take- Do you take Astro over Traffic Accident in that list though?
I don't think so,
Okay.
but I'm not sure. Because the Butcher Shop list that I liked were already cutting their Exploder Paloozas, because that card's a bit worse in Butcher Shop than you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
So you could just swap out an Astro for an Exploder and probably still be okay. Like, as long as if you cut your Astro, your capability to 24/7 breaking, 24/7 traffic accident, Scorched Earth for the win didn't really take a hit. So you can still do that pretty
I
competently.
just say
So,
that you can't score anymore.
yeah, exactly. And you can't. And Astro Shattered Remains was a really clever trick that you can't do as
Yeah.
much anymore.
You know, and Travis said it in chat, and I was thinking the same thing, that I think Film Critic might become more of a thing.
Yeah, I agree. I would still put one. I would put one in my Shaker decks again if you'd stopped, because I think I just think RP got a bit better, and maybe people go to Butcher as well. And I think one thing I mentioned earlier is I think you might see more MBM decks doing a few tags and tag punishment as a side strategy and as another way to win, because they lost their Elis and their Architects for just playing good ice. So that tag resistance is probably at a premium, because the Sync deck does that. It's not a kill deck, but it has News Team, Data Raven, and QPM in it.
Yeah.
Hollis, what do you got over there?
I'm actually wanted to chill for a second just to listen to you guys discuss this. Again, part of my one of the things I'm most excited about with these changes is to see, like you said, you guys just basically gave a lot of details as far as like how MBN has changed now. We were at the stage where MBN could literally do 2 things really, really well, and they actually aided each other, right? It's sort of cyclical, cyclical. Like, it's like if you go too aggressive to stop the fast advance, I scorch you. Are you defending against Scorch? Well, now you've given me time to score Astros and fast advance. And now I think MBN is sort of forced to choose. You don't get to do both really, really well. You have to make a decision right now. What is your plan? And that's an amazing thing for the runner, because think about that. That means now versus NEH or Harp deck, from the moment I sit down at that table, any information I get tells me what you're probably not doing or what you don't have. And that's a lot of information. If all you're doing is, if I see Scorch, in my head, I'm probably going, you're probably running at least 2. You're running at least 2. You're probably going all in on the Scorch play now. And if I see an Astro, I go, okay, well, hold on. Scorch and Astro, I basically can now just count up, and I know pretty much what you do not have, and I feel so much more comfortable. I know what you're installing isn't a Sansan City Grid, because you don't have the influence for it. So if you're bluffing something out, it's going to be Shadow Remains if it's advanced. If it's not, it's something else entirely. I mean, this is really interesting to me, and that's actually what I wanted to see, and I think it's kind of their end goal, right? They
Hold on a second. We have
Oh,
breaking news announcement in the chat.
Yeah.
Dave just jumped in and said, for the record, there is 0% chance I'm dropping Desperado. So everyone that was tuning in,
But Doppelganger's so good, says someone. Yeah.
yeah.
sorry to cut you
It
off
is,
there,
though. It's
Hollis,
so-
but that was
Oh.
the breaking news announcement.
Well,
Thanks.
I mean, if we're being honest, you should 100% not drop Desperado.
No, absolutely.
It's the best card. But I think that, the discussion that you had about, just now with MBN, that's pretty much exactly the kind of thing that I was really looking forward to. And I think that's why they even implemented the list to begin with. I think they're acknowledging there's a few interesting issues that are with the game that they can smooth out. And it's weird. I mean, I feel like because we've been playing the game for so long, with the current card pool without these changes, the issues aren't issues anymore, right? They're just the game. And I think a lot of people, look at it that way as well. They look at it going, well, the game is fine. The game doesn't need any improvement. And it's pretty much like, well, no, that's not true. I mean, the game can always be improved. And I think this is just them giving that option.
Yeah. I think this list, the meta is pretty diverse right now on Worlds, at Worlds, and kind of post Worlds. There's times when the meta's been worse than it is, I think. This wasn't like... I was pretty happy with where the meta was, but that doesn't mean I'm not happy to see improvement.
I like this. I like the look of this way better than the RP meta, for example.
Yeah.
I hated the RP meta.
Well, that was the meta I won nationals in, and that was a fun testing.
Yeah.
Oh God.
So where does things go now?
Right.
Is there something that gets better, like we said, like with Sync or Runner that's just going to take off?
Yeah, I would actually rather talk about HB because Alex knows a lot about this, or about food codes. I would really like to hear your thoughts on this.
I feel like I haven't really gathered my thoughts on that. Well, what I will say is, pre this, I think Food Codes was easily the best deck. I don't think it was close. The deck was completely absurd. It was one of those cases where it's the best deck and everyone knows it's the best deck, but that doesn't even stop it being the best deck because it was so powerful. Now I don't really know, because you played 3 Eli and 3 Architect, and they were both so good because you needed them to protect your early campaigns. You needed them as central tags. Architect does both, I guess, but Eli stops HP losing out of centrals, which is how it always loses and always will. I don't know what the list looks like if you cut 6 to 7 influence. I mean, for a start, you probably almost certainly have to drop NAPD, and I prefer the 3 NAPD version of Food Codes anyway. Sorry, Dave. I know Dave likes his 3-2s, but I prefer the Dan version where you max out on those NAPDs.
This is awesome. You're just going to get the little digs in.
Dave likes to play stupid mind games, and I just like cards like that have. So that's why I want the RP meta, because
it's setting up 2016 for real.
No, I love Dave, and Dave loves me, I think. So, but you have to drop the NAPD almost certainly, and then you have to put some weird garbage like FCOM in your deck or something. The thing is, Breaker Bay grid campaigns are so good. They're so powerful. It's so much free money for not a ton of setup. Both cards are good on their own because you can use Breaker Bay for your Ash Caprice reses. You can use the campaigns because campaigns have always been good. So I'm at the point where I don't think HB can possibly not be good anymore, because it's always been crazy, and ETF is a crazy faction, but honestly I don't have the answers. I don't really know. I guess you cut some number of Eli and Architect, maybe you add some Itchies to make up for your Architect losses, and you just double down, you keep playing races.
You already had 3 Itchy though.
Yeah, but you didn't. Yeah, I guess that's true. Well, you can add more Itchy 2s or weird sentries. There's probably some HB for it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's an interesting one. I reckon
Caprice, or maybe
like one of my thoughts when I was looking at this is I was almost thinking that, because my biggest problem when I play against HB is the Breaker Bay grid and campaigns infinite money, and you just go, God damn. I almost think the Breaker Bay grid should be on the list. You know what I mean? Like that was one of my thoughts. Seriously, that's what I thought, because that's one of the things I find the hardest to deal with when I'm playing HB.
Yeah,
it's just I resed an Eve campaign for free, and now what are you going to do? You're going to come deal with it?
And if you go and deal with it, you have to trash the Eve, and then if you don't trash the Breaker Bay, you're running the risk of them throwing another campaign in there. And if you do, you just gave them a huge scoring window, and that's why food was so good, because then they would score. You gave them a scoring window, and they would get 3 points instead of 2, like they were previously. So it was crazy. Yeah, and food is still a crazy card, and it's got to find a home. And it may well still be an HB. I don't know. I haven't really gone to that yet. I've been thinking about RP, Fastro, and to a lesser extent Blue Sun. I haven't really thought about food, but I've tested food so much, and I was so ready to spend the whole year playing it. So maybe I'll get back to you in a month with an answer.
So
I haven't seen anyone talk about it. That's the thing. I've seen people talk about NBN, and I've seen people talk about RP, and even Blue Sun. But I haven't seen anyone else talk about food. No one seems to know. All the food players of the world have gone silent.
With good reason. The next like you don't want to like, hey, I have this really amazing deck. It pretty much wins most of the time. You know what? Don't worry about it. It's fine. Keep playing in EH. You're fine. Keep playing in EH.
I don't know, but
Hollis, start with your.
HP is too good.
Start with your opinions about cards that are missing from this list.
Honestly, so I think the issue that I have is I don't really want to make a judgment call here, and I know that sounds like a really cheesy thing to say right now. I'm being like weak as hell, but I just I feel like the cards that are on this list, at least I would say, all with the exception of maybe one, and that's a big maybe. All the cards on this list, I'm pretty much completely fine with them being restricted, and it feels like it's justified, and I think it's just enough balance. Now, I know some people will say, you know, there's other problem cards. We mentioned Faust earlier. Data Suckers come up. There's a few others also. What are the other ones that come to mind?
You know,
wow.
Faust is the one that I think is the most interesting. I've said it before, because having a strong AI is just, I think it does more damage than good.
Yeah. I mean, no, Faust is super powerful. And I don't know if we'll get more like anti-AI breakers. Turing, of course, is really strong also versus Faust. And there's a whole bunch of other things. Swordsman. Shout out to Noah McKee, who destroyed me because of that Swordsman, by the way. Like, I mean, it's one of those scenarios where I think this adds an interesting level of balance back to the game to try to correct a little bit of a I'm not going to say power creep, but a little bit of super strength in like those factions, right? Like NBN was so strong because they could just do two great things. NBN was better at doing something than a whole other faction that was designed to do it. Mm-hmm. Like when your faction does Scourge better than the faction that gets Scourge, well, there's a different conversation that needs to be, that needs to happen. And their fast defense capabilities were super strong. Food Coats took a hit. That's a top tier deck that took a little bit of a hit here. And all Anarchs basically took a hit. So some guy was mentioning Max, and actually he made a point I hadn't considered. So Max not only loses Parasite, but you have to remember, even though Max is a 15 influence runner, you pretty much add Levy to Max.
Yeah.
So really, when you look at that, it's a 12 influence runner. So it's a 12 influence runner that gets that's taking a hit here. It doesn't get clone chip, which it needs for its ability to be to make it safe. And it doesn't get Parasite. So what do you do as Max now? Like your deck
the
list.
Max Apocalypse Siphon Bound decks didn't tend to play Clone Chip, and a lot of the time we're playing Parasite. So you can still play people call it Fury Road or something.
Fury Road.
I think you can. Yeah.
Okay.
Max. I think you can. I think that list is probably still fine. It might be a good go-to, but I just don't know what its faster matchups like.
Nice. I think that
David
it's
David
great,
got
right?
mentioned
'Cause
in chat.
you nuke the whole board.
Yeah, it may well be. I don't know. I haven't played the matchup much.
It's pretty good in my experience.
Okay. Yeah, so that's if you want to keep playing those maxes, if you spec on some promo maxes that don't exist there, then maybe play some Apocalypse decks or something.
David got mentioned in
Max
chat.
really fun.
You guys have opinions on that one?
David.
Yeah.
Which one? Sorry.
It's
David got
David's
mentioned in
fine.
chat.
Yeah.
I think David is so
opinions.
fair.
David's
Like it
fine.
seems so
Feels big
fair.
whole faction's fine.
Because the clone chips are gone that way.
Yeah, exactly. That it helps a lot with the clone chip, so you can't bring it back a million times.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I reckon even so, like it's something that the faction, fills a little bit of a hole in Anarch that they couldn't really deal with as easily. I think it's fine. And it's 4 influence.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
cards.
I think it's fine.
As far as things that I think are kind of needed, I mean, people have already mentioned this in chat. Dave mentioned this, but if they're going to do this list, and again, I'm 100% supportive. I'll say 95%. Only because I think they may make an occasional misstep on choosing a card that shouldn't be on the list. But I'd rather have a 95% correction than none, right? But I think that they're going to need to add certain things now to the card pool if this restricted list is going to continue. Like, obviously, Anarchs need a new Code Gate Breaker. At the very least, another alternative that isn't Force of Nature. Then on top of that, you have, on top of that, maybe we need a few more answers to AI-only breakers. Like, because Faust is a very powerful card. So if Faust isn't on the list, then other factions need another kind of interesting way to handle this. Maybe wraparound is what they are comfortable with. I don't know.
Yeah, the wraparound David combos are part of the reason I think David annoys people a bit. But
yeah, I mean, other things they need.
I think
Dave Hoyler.
you need to be a little careful.
So I saw a bit of discussion about this, which is someone was complaining about how Wayland doesn't have an anti-AI ice, even though it's the Rush faction, or the Rush faction, so-called.
Yeah.
So I think that may be part of it as well. Like, how we didn't have an AI breaker in Criminal because of the count siphon.
Yeah,
it's the same. I think that might have something to do with it. Why they haven't printed as much anti-AI ice, just so there's still a bit more play space for Rush builds. I think that might be something to do with it.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Yeah.
I want to see more sentries also, right? Like, Architect was the best barrier sentry, like the low-cost sentry. Like,
it was just the best sentry, full stop, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, that's the truth. So, I mean, if at this point now, we need more of this to give us options. Like, I think Assassin has been a great card that's been released.
Yep.
And so I want to see more good sentries come out. I mean, Wayland still needs some work here. I think this restricted list brings down the power level of other archetypes that aren't Wayland in RP. Well, sorry, Wayland in Jiteki, excuse me. And I want to see now, in addition to this list, the cards that now are going to follow that bring strength to factions that are very, very underrepresented right now in the meta. And hopefully, we will be at this utopia of balance. This like thing that doesn't exist. That that
never.
That,
remember, we haven't seen any new Wayland cards yet.
True, we've seen none, which means that we're gonna get wrecked. Wayland top tier 2016. I'm ready.
There is some Sport Wayland stuff that looks good. I don't know how I feel about discussing Sport of the show, but they did get a little bump. So with some of the cards.
That's right. Yeah, I remember.
There's the grid.
Okay. It meant officially we haven't heard it anymore.
Yeah, fair, sure. But Wayland, I think it's going to get a bit better. I'm going to test some Blue Sun. I've been playing Blue Sun anyway because it's super fun, and it's good skill testing stuff. It might actually be good now. I don't know.
I think the best part about the list is that it's not set in stone. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
It can very much be a living list with things being removed, added as cards enter play and get cycled out. So.
Going forward, what I would like to see if they continue this kind of policy is, again, this is just taking something basically whole from Magic the Gathering, but it is super useful, is they announce in advance when there's going to be any updates to any kind of banned lists. So it doesn't necessarily mean there is going to be one, but if there is they say at the beginning of the year, if there is an announcement, it will be on this date. And then on that date, I think we'll come out and say there are no changes to the list or whatever, so that people know. The weird thing about this list was that we had no clue it was coming. So what I appreciate in the future, they were like, okay, there might be some updates coming on day XYZ, so that people aren't living in this weird space where like 2 days before a tournament they could suddenly have this sprung on them.
So what's interesting too is that I really feel that they need to do better with keeping their top level of play on the same playing field. Sometimes they give these big windows for, say, store championships, and half the store championships will be using one card pool, and then all of a sudden a pack is released right in the middle, and then the other half is not using it.
UK Nationals was pre-clot. No, it was just about post-clot, but if it had been any earlier, then it would have been pre-clot, which that kind of meta shift is big.
Yeah, so
it was
ours was Nationals.
We have this window now where some store championships have been announced, and in January, and because the list they're saying does not come into effect until February.
Yeah, it's a super weird spot.
You have this window now that if you want your store championship in January with to do whatever you want, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got one or two, but what we're doing is actually the Winning Agenda guys are running a league in January, and they're just using the most one of the list for that league that they're doing in January. And there's a couple. I think there's one store that we've got here, and their weekly tournaments are going to be during the list as well, so you can sort of get that practice in.
I think it is pretty interesting, and it says a lot that people are already. If you go onto Jinteki or if you go down to your store, people are playing with this list already, and some tournaments have been changed. So there's a UK tournament that's going to be pre most wanted, but may well bring it in anyway, and. It says a lot to me because it means people do want to play with this list. They're not putting it off as long as they possibly can. They don't think the game's been ruined. But a lot of people are really excited to play with it and just want to jump in right now. And part of that is they don't want to play in an irrelevant meta, but part of it is just that it looks fun to them. And that's good.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it won't change for Hollis. you just net deck that deck anyway, right?
I mean, I mean, the thing is, I mean, everybody knows the kind of guy I am. Like, my interest is not, my interest has never been ever trying to like be the guy that figures out the best deck. But
I'm exactly the same.
yeah, but I do have a super interest in figuring out the deck that people think is the best deck.
Yep.
And by that I mean learning it. I mean that to me is the scope of it, because you can know that this deck is top tier. It's like DLR Vow, but it's not a deck that you just pick up and you immediately just throw cards down. You're like, I win. You know, it takes practice, and that's the thing I love doing.
One way that I don't think. Sorry.
No, go ahead. No, please go.
Sorry. One thing that I don't think people do, and I can understand why, but should, is if there's a matchup that you're struggling with or don't really like, just sit down and play like 10 games against it. That's how I used to play against like Xenesis, who you might know from forums, and I play a lot together, and we used to just play the same matchup over and over again because both of us like solving a matchup and figuring it out. So like, let's go again till I get a good win rate, and as a result, it's actually a really fun way to play because it's like a puzzle that you have to solve. So in terms of those kind of matchups that you hate, I recommend getting a buddy who you want to just spend time with anyway, and just play some games because the game's fun, and then piece it up and learn it, and then you'll be able to apply those skills and feel really clever at your store champ. When someone slaps down an ID and you're like, I know the routine, I know the script, and I know this matchup better than you. It's a fun way to play.
I had one sort of soapboxy thing to say over something that happened over the internet.
Alex and Miles, do you guys have anything else to say about this list in general or in closing? And because I think I've said all my pieces. I think it's good for the game. I'm happy to see this. I think it's going to diversify some deck building, and I'm excited.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Pretty well chosen. I'll reserve, I might change my opinion when we see the tier 1 decks. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Miles.
No, Hollis, you can have closing thoughts, man.
No, so I made a stupid, silly meme post on a popular Facebook Netrunner group, and it generated some discussion and generated also some arguments, things like that. So I wanted to say first off, the point of that post wasn't to offend anybody or make anybody get upset. I hope nobody got super upset about this, but
Google is.
Oh yeah, it's just a Netrunner Geeks. It's just that. But basically, the whole point of what I wanted to get out was that. So a lot of people had an issue with this particular change, primarily because they felt like the change was inelegant. And what I had to say to that was, I sort of agree. It would be an amazingly beautiful thing if absolutely every single problem that FFG saw and that the community saw in the game could be resolved simply by card releases. But I think there's a big picture. You have to remember that cards can take minimal 9 months to come out from the moment they even want to create them, because they have to get them into the cycle first. So that means that if a problem comes up from a card they have right now in January, we won't get a fix for that card until September and October or later, even later. So when you say that you want that sort of change to be implemented in an elegant way, you also are saying, I would rather the meta suffer in that meantime while we're waiting for this solution to be presented. Look at this list as sort of a way for them to have a small amount of control over the game and assist when needed when the meta gets stale, stagnant, whatever you want to call it. Or maybe just in general, maybe they printed one single card, something like Wireless Net Pavilion, that was just more powerful than they expected. And this was the quickest, easiest way to resolve this and keep the game at a level where everyone's having fun. And people aren't leaving because of that. I think they definitely are smart enough, and FFG is really good about this, in my opinion. They're very smart. They're smart enough to know when changes are being made, how it's going to affect the meta before it actually comes out. Even if they don't know completely, they at least can acknowledge, okay, yeah, we messed up. Big Brother, yeah, not a great card. Should never have been printed, right? But they also acknowledge when cards are just too strong, and there needs to be something done. So while the solution isn't elegant, it's better that we have something there to handle a now answer, that they can implement something, later. Just because we have this doesn't mean we won't get cards that fix issues for cards on this list. And I think that's the mentality everyone has. They say, oh, well, this list exists because they haven't come up with a card solution. Well, that's not the whole truth. The truth is that they still have to find a way to deal with this, even with this list being printed. And I guarantee you, I'm pretty confident if the meta shifts and certain cards aren't a problem, they'll come off the list, guys. Not all of this is permanent.
Absolutely.
So
I think they're going to be flexible. I just quickly want to add to that what you were saying. part of the reason that I was glad to see this list come was because I watched the interview that you did here with Damon Stone, and I thought, and I kind of got a different idea about his philosophy. The philosophy he seemed to present in that interview was that it's up to players to solve things when there's a problem. You know, if there's a deck that's dominating, well, you know, there's cards for it. That opinion's always rubbed me the wrong way. You know, it's like, did you try shooting him more? Did you, you know, like, just stop losing, just start winning? And I was a bit worried that he's a designer, but actually he's proved that he's not like that at all, and he's willing to, you know, they're willing to influence the meta themselves and do things like this instead of just leaving it up to the players, which I think would be a very risky attitude to take to the metagame.
Yeah, it's made me feel better about him coming on, because it was at the interview we did last year or the year before. Was it around? Is that the one? Because I remember there was one that he did like maybe a year ago, and it was super controversial, and I think it was he was saying that kind of stuff, and everyone was like, "Oh, this guy's the worst." Yeah, so I was really worried about him taking over initially, but this makes me feel better about it.
Also, he didn't put Jackson on this list, and I know he doesn't really want to reprint Jackson. I was starting to worry that he just didn't like it, and if Jackson had been on the list, then I probably wouldn't be on the podcast, I guess.
Right. Now that would have ruined Netrunner.
Yeah, if you want to ruin Netrunner. Anyway.
Cool.
Yeah, thumbs up to the list. If I'm going to give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down, it's definitely a thumbs up.
Yeah, no doubt.
Can we quickly, sorry, maybe you don't have time, but I was interested to hear if you had to play a tournament tomorrow with no testing, what would you play? Is that something that would be interesting, or do you want to wrap this up?
Oh,
Yeah. I would take... Oh, I know this. I would take Noise and Fast Track.
I'm 100%. I'm same as you, Mars. Noise, Fast Track.
I would take Wizard, and I would go back to RP to check it out.
Yep.
IG
love
and
Wizard.
Adam. because I just play what I want. I don't give two hell's.
Nice.
We're getting some good answers in chat for that.
You know what though?
Good answer.
You know, let's just hit this quick because I don't want to hit the 2-minute mark or the 2-hour mark with this. What do you guys think those mini factions suffer because of this? They were, you know, building with the 25 is already hard enough. I'm playing a lot of Adam. I do like him, but getting stuff in there, you know, is hard.
I think they're probably more pleased than upset they are by this. I think the Corp cards were hurting them more than losing the runner cards hurts them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Adam doesn't like Architect, and Sunny doesn't like Astroscript and all that kind of thing. And obviously, Apex despises Architect, so I think it's probably good for the
Apex
neutral.
doesn't like Netrunner, really.
Oh, I'm really happy to.
It's true.
From an Adam perspective, I'm really happy to see a couple of those corporation cards on the list. But
Even Sansan's kind of bad for Adam, because he can just access that.
Damn it, we were going to talk about the cutlery thing. Someone just brought this up in chat. We were going to talk about that. Yeah, it seems good. It seems okay. There's
Cutlery
that.
might be good again. That's the cutlery thing.
Yeah. I think Cutlery was very much like to me, it wasn't worth it at the time because I was like, I could just use Data Sucker Parasite and do that, have recursion. And like Data Sucker fixes a lot of my ice breaking econ issues, and I have Parasite. I mean, like, I invalidate ice and break for cheap. This seems like a way better thing. Cutlery definitely way more valuable now, I think, with Parasite and
Close
Close.
to cutlery too. So.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
There's an Ed Kim cutlery deck making the rounds at the moment. I don't know.
It's good. Someone was running it recently around here. It was pretty good.
Probably play Wiz instead of Ed Kim, but otherwise, it's a good list. So yeah, cutlery is worth testing.
when Faust came out, I saw a lot, and I got really excited because a lot of people gravitated towards Quetzal for a little bit, and she was using the cutlery and stuff in there. So I hope more people go back and experiment with her after these changes. I thought that she was going to become more popular in the tournaments, but she kind of came in a lull and then went quick.
Yeah.
That Faust Quetzal, Dr. Quetzis, whatever they were.
Dave Hoyland was ranking everyone with Quetzal Siphon Spam for a while.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. That was quite a good deck.
Cool.
Anything else?
I think.
I don't really have anything else to add.
I think we got it.
All right. Well, you know what, though? Thanks again for everybody that jumped into this. I'm really happy to, do a live session for all the people on the other side of the world, they usually are asleep when we go live. Great numbers here for you guys to join us. Thanks very much. Even some of our regulars got up early.
That's super cool.
You know, it's great that we got all four of us finally together. The new face of Bad Publicity, you know, welcome Alex. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't really know if people know about this, that this is more of a me trying to do some work with you guys instead of just being a guest face. But I'd appreciate people's feedback, and you know, if they don't think I'm a good fit, then my ego won't take a big hit. But hopefully I can be on more and get this thing done. I had a good time.
And then, you know, as always, Miles and Hollis, thanks a bunch.
Yeah, enjoy it. Thanks, guys.
Nice to talk to you guys.
Take care.
Always a pleasure.
Cool.
Dan's outro.